Good day, everybody. I hope that you are well, and I also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today, we'll be doing our grade 3 to 5 English lesson on subject and predicate. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we'll select the subject of English Language Arts, grade 3 to 5. And the chapter that we're going to then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of subject and predicate. So our chapter is subject and predicate. The subject is English language arts. We're doing grade 3 to 5. And the lessons that we are going to be focusing on under the chapter of subject and predicate. We're going to identify the complete subject of the sentence, and we're going to identify the complete predicate of the sentence. All right. So when it comes to subject and predicate, right? So every sentence has a complete subject and they have a complete predicate. So every sentence has a complete subject and they have a complete predicate. And a complete subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. I'm doing well, thank you. I'm doing very well, thank you for asking. So, we said every sentence has a complete subject and they have a complete predicate. And a complete subject, it tells us who or tells us what is doing something. That is a subject, tells us who or what is doing something. And when it comes to the subject, right, the subject can be one word or it can be more than one word. So a subject can be one word or it can be more than one word. And if we look at a few examples, right, of completed subjects, we're basically doing the actual lesson on subject and predicate. So we said a subject can be one word or it can be more than one word. And if we're going to look at a few words, right, or a few examples of a completed subject, and then it says she sleeps a lot. So she sleeps a lot. That is our first sentence. And if we were to identify the subject or the completed subject within that sentence, now we need to ask ourselves who is doing something or what is doing something within that sentence. So we need to ask ourselves who is doing something or what is doing something within the sentence. And we would then say she is our completed sentence. She, because it tells us who is doing something or tells us what is doing something. So who is doing something here? She is doing something over here. The next one says, her friend sleeps a lot. And if you look at that sentence, what do you think is the completed sentence, the subject within that sentence? The completed subject, her friend sleeps a lot. So we identify that she is the subject in the first sentence, which is she sleeps a lot. Now the next one says, her friend sleeps a lot. What is the completed subject within that sentence? And here we can say in the next sentence, her friend is a subject because it tells us who is doing something. So the second sentence is, her friend sleeps a lot. And remember, we say that the subject is, it tells us who or what is doing something. It can be one word or it can be more than one word. One word or more than one word. Let's look at the next one. It says, her best friend sleeps a lot. Her best friend sleeps a lot. So her best friend sleeps a lot. And if we were to identify the subject within the sentence, and then the subject within the sentence is her best friend, because it tells us who is doing something. And remember, they say that the subject can either be one word or it can be more than one word. And if you look at all three of those sentences, right? The first one that says she sleeps a lot, the next one that says a friend sleeps a lot, the third one that says her best friend sleeps a lot. All three of these sentences, or the subjects of the sentences, it tells us who sleeps a lot. The first sentence we said she sleeps a lot. So who? She. In the second sentence, her friend sleeps a lot. So who sleeps a lot? Her friend. And in the last sentence, her best friend sleeps a lot. So who sleeps a lot? Her best friend sleeps a lot. And once again, we see that every sentence has a complete subject and they have a complete predicate. And a complete subject, it tells us who is doing something, or it tells us what is doing something. And it can either be one word or it can be more than one word. All right. So now we said that every sentence has a subject and it has a completed predicate. So now we're going on to a completed predicate. How will we be able to identify a completed predicate? A completed predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. We see that the subject tells us what is happening. So the completed predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. And when it comes to the completed predicate, right? The completed predicate, it is the verb plus any other words that tell you more about it. So the completed predicate tells you what the subject is doing, and it is the verb plus any other words. All right. And also, when it comes to the completed predicate, right? The completed predicate can be one word or it can be more than one word. So the completed predicate can be one word or it can be more than one word. And if we look at an example, right, of a completed predicate, it says her friend sleeps. Her friend sleeps. Remember, we said that we need to select the completed predicate, and it tells us what the subject is doing. It can be one word or it can be more than one word. It tells us what the subject is doing, and like we said, it is the verb plus any other words. So the one says, her friend sleeps. And if we were to identify the completed predicate within that sentence that tells us what the subject is doing, then we can say sleeps. So what is her friend doing? Her friend sleeps. The next one says, her friend sleeps a lot. Her friend sleeps a lot. And if we were to identify the predicate within the sentence, then we can say it is sleeps a lot. Because now it tells us what the subject is doing. And her friend is a subject. So what is the subject doing? She sleeps a lot. So her friend sleeps a lot. And then the last one says her friend sleeps a lot on the weekend. So a friend sleeps a lot on the weekend. We need to identify the predicate within that sentence, which is the tells us what the subject is doing. And remember, we said it is one word or more than one word that tells us what the friend is doing. So if her friend is the subject, then the predicate is sleeps a lot on a weekend. So sleeps a lot on a weekend. And that basically is the predicate. It tells us what the subject is doing. All right. And if you look at all three of those sentences, her friend sleeps a lot, her friend sleeps a lot on a weekend, right? Each one of those sentences, or each completed sentence, yes. So sleeps, or sleeps a lot, or sleeps a lot on weekends, anything that tells us what the person is doing, but it is the verb plus any other word that comes after the verb. So it's the verb plus any other word that comes after it that tells us what the subject is doing. And each of these completed predicates, it tells us what the friend does. It's either the friend sleeps, or the friend sleeps a lot, or the friend sleeps a lot on weekends. All right. So that is our predicate. So overall, we say that each sentence needs to have a completed subject as well as a complete predicate. And in order for us to show the completed subject, a completed subject tells us who or what is doing something. Who or what is doing something. And it can be one word or more than one word. And then we have a completed predicate. It tells us what the subject is doing. All right, and we see the predicate, it tells us what the subject is doing. Can either be one word or it can be more than one word. All right, so now we're going to aplusstudents.ca, and we're going to subject and predicate. And the lessons that we're focusing on, we're going to identify the complete subject and the complete predicate. All right. Hey, sorry about this. Let me just quickly go back. All right. So now we're identifying the complete subject. And we see that when we identify the complete subject, it tells us who or what is doing something. It is one word or more than one word. Now we need to identify one word that makes up the subject. It says, we framed the painting. We framed painting. What is that one word that shows that this is a completed subject? We framed the painting. So we need to identify that one word that makes up the subject. We frame the painting. We need to select the subject. And if we were to select the correct subject, right, within the sentence, then yes, we would say we is our subject. So we is the subject because it tells us who or what is doing something. Who or what is doing something, we did something. We need to select two words that make up the complete subject. It says, our dog senses danger. Our dog senses danger. What are the two words that make up the subject? So our dog senses danger. What are the two words that make up the subject? And if we were to select the two words that make up the completed subject, then it is our dog. So our dog, and that is our subject. All right, so now we're going to our test where we need to identify the completed subject within the sentence. The completed subject within the sentence. All right, it says we need to select the one word that makes up the complete subject. One word that makes up the complete subject. It says mice squeaked softly. Mice squeaked softly. What is that one word that's the completed subject? Is it option one, mice, or option two, softly? Mice or softly? So option one, mice, or option two, softly. All right. And if we were to select the correct answer, the subject, then we would say option one, mice, is our subject. Tells us who or what is doing something. So the mice squeaks. Who squeaks? The mice. The next one says we need to select the three words that make up a complete subject. Three words. The brown horse escaped. The brown horse escaped. We need to select the three words that make up a complete subject. The brown horse escaped. Is it option one, the brown horse, or option two, brown horse escaped? And if we were to choose the correct subject, then our correct subject would be option one, the brown horse. Well done. Option one is correct. The next one says Scott's dad chopped the wood. Scott's dad chopped the wood. We now need to select two words that make up a complete subject. Two words. So Scott's dad chopped the wood. So we need to select two words that tells us what is the completed subject. Option one, Scott's dad, or option two, the wood. Remember, it is the two words, the completed subject. Who is doing something? You need to ask yourself who is doing something within that sentence. So Scott's dad or the wood. And if we were to select the correct answer, the two words that make up a complete subject that we said is Scott's dad. All right. The next one says, our neighbor fed the dog. Our neighbor fed the dog. We now need to identify the completed subject. We need to select the two words that make up the complete subject. Two words. Option one, our neighbor, or option two, the dog. So we need to select the two words that make up a complete subject. And if we were to select the two words to make up the complete subject, then we would say it is our neighbor. One, two, our neighbor. All right. And then the next one says milk spoils too easily. Milk spoils too easily. So milk spoils easily. We need to select the one word that makes up the complete subject. Is it milk, option one, or spoils, option two? Milk, option one, or spoils, option two? And if we were to select the complete subject, then we will say milk. What or It is milk. All right, so we chose milk as the subject because it tells us who or what is the main thing on that sentence. All right, let's do one last one and then we are done. It says, Kimmy's sister brushed the dog. Kimmy's sister brushed the dog. We need to select two words that make up a complete subject. Is it option one, the dog, or option two, Kimmy's sister? All right, and if we were to select the two words, then we would say option two, Kimmy's sister. All right. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson on subject and predicate. We will continue next time in our next lesson. We see the subject, every sentence has a completed subject, it has a completed predicate. A subject tells us who or what is doing something, and a predicate tells us the action that the person or thing does, right? Both subject and predicate can be either one word or every other, or it can be more than one word. All right, so this is now the end of our lesson. Thank you very much, everybody, and I really hope you're going to have a good day further. Goodbye.